Hey guys, and welcome to episode 1 of my Civ 6 How to Play series. The theme of this series is how do we think about the decisions we make in the game. I have been playing Civ since Civ 2. I have been playing this particular Civ, since it came out. And one thing I found is that when people struggle to ramp up and get better at the game, they struggle because when they watch these guides, the decisions make sense to them in the moment. But the one thing about Civ is that you're almost never going to be in the same exact situation over and over and over. So, really, what you need to learn is how do I think about situations so that I can make the best decision in the moment? So, it's more of a how do you think about these things problem rather than a if this, then that kind of an issue. And so I thought the best place to start would be turn 1. So, what are the things you should be considering when you load into the game? So, the very first thing you need to take into consideration is what kind of tiles can I work in ring 1 of the city I'm settling? So, here we see we have a 3-1 sheep tile and a 1-3-1 dies tile. Those are both very strong tiles. And now, what can you consider a strong tile? Anything that has 4 total yield of food and production is a strong tile. Now, if it has, I'm trying to think of an example, like 1 food, 2 production, 1 gold, or something like that, it's an okay tile, but it's not fully strong. The gold to production conversion ratio, I would say, is about 2 gold you can count as 1 production. And in terms of faith, again, it really depends. Faith you should consider as an additional bonus. I wouldn't select a weak tile that has 1 faith early over a strong tile that doesn't have faith in it. So we can see that we have uh, two strong tiles to work here, so we are comfortable settling in place. But one thing I want to cover is, well, what if we didn't have these very strong tiles? What if our start was not so good and we had 2 food, 1 production, and 1 food, 2 production tiles? Well, what I've found is that more often than not, if you have a very weak start when you load in the game, that means that you have at least 1 or 2 strategic resources nearby. Now, why is that important? Well, once you find strategic resources, and by find I mean once you research animal husbandry, which will reveal horses, or once you research bronze working, which will reveal iron, you are no longer able to build a district on top of that tile. So, let's say we didn't have these strong tiles and we're thinking we have either bronze working or horseback riding nearby. We know that bronze working can't go on tiles with woods on them, or iron will not be revealed on tiles with woods on them. So we can make a good assumption that we would probably have iron somewhere in these hills. That's something to keep in mind when you're mentally doing your district planning early on. Additionally, here we can see we have these plains tiles. We could relatively safely assume that there would be some horses here, and that would be something to keep in mind for our district planning. Now, step 2 is, what kind of a civ do you have? For example, right now we're playing Victoria Age of Steam. Victoria Age of Steam has very strong buffs to her harbor district. She has a unique harbor district, and she also has a lot of buffs to her industrial zones. So, we want to think early, where am I going to place those industrial zones, and where am I going to place that harbor? Now, harbors get big adjacencies for being next to the city center, and we also have this fish resource right here, so that's a very easy decision. The harbor is going to go right here. But where should we mentally, view where's a good option for our industrial zone? Personally, I believe this plains tile right here would be a very strong tile. It has a lot of hills around it, which gives us options to put mines on these hills and leaves it open to the possibility that there might be some iron nearby. In addition, this is a lot of good land for something like a government plaza right here, like very quickly, I'm going to put some map text down. We could go like an aqueduct right here, the industrial zone right here, and the government plaza right here, and then our harbor here. So you really don't have to think too far beyond the first couple, 2 or 3 districts, because the game's going to evolve, and you can't predict quite yet how the game's going to evolve. But it's good to have a sense of, okay, this is the rough idea of what I want to go for. What are some things that could either make this challenging, or the flip side, what can make this even stronger? So now we're going to settle. We have our sailing boost, which didn't really factor into why we settled here. And now we have to think, where should we send our warrior? Now, the number one rule is you want to cover as much distance with your warrior as possible in your first move. But, for example here, we're only going 1 tile no matter what. Now, if we weren't playing Vicky Steam, I think the clear choice here would probably be to continue to explore the River Great Ouse. I probably said that terribly. We want to go check if there's good cities up here, because we see there's a river that goes this way. Rivers provide early housing, so we want our early cities to have some strong early housing, so it could be very worthwhile to figure out if there's any good tiles up here. However, as we are playing Vicky Steam, we have strong buffs to our harbors, so it's also worthwhile to consider going down south, or potentially even going up north, to see what kind of coastal opportunities we have. Because I'm kind of curious about what's north here, and I know I'm probably going to want to check out the coast here, I'm going to move my warrior here. Now, why am I going to move my warrior here? Because now we've been able to reveal a little more about what's up here at the river with that housing, and next turn we're going to be able to move 1, 2 tiles south, meaning we're making the most of our movement. So what research do we want now? Well, you might think the easy answer here actually is, because we have these 2 resources, it's going to be sailing. Now, if we weren't Vicky Steam, let's say we were playing as Cyrus. Well, Cyrus has some strong early units that use bronze working, so you might want to go mining. But actually, and I'll get into this a little more in a later video, Cyrus has a very strong commercial hub opening because he has bonuses to his internal trade routes. So you might actually just want to start with pottery and run into currency as quickly as possible. So it's one of those things where what I would recommend is, when you're picking your civ, think to yourself, would I classify this civ as one of the 3? You really classify civs as one of the 4. War civs, science civs, culture civs, and religious civs. So if you're a religious civ, you're probably more interested in opening astrology. If you're a science civ, you want to play to your strengths. Whenever you have a lot of resources, you want to improve those early. If you're a war civ, you probably want to go animal husbandry or mining early to get bronze working. And if you are a culture civ, again, kind of like science, you really just want to maximize your early food and production. So I always, unless I am, even actually when I am a civ like Victoria, where I want to work these fish tiles early, we're always opening with a scout. Now, why are we always opening with a scout on turn 1? It's because it does a number of things. Early golden ages are extremely important in this game, and scouts are going to do a couple things to help you get that early golden age. 1, they're going to find goodie huts for you, which are going to give you a multitude of buffs, and in addition to that, they're going to give you golden age points. 2, they're going to help you find natural wonders, which give you, as you guessed it, golden age points. And the third thing they're going to do is help you find other civs, which, again, golden age points. And on top of that, more map knowledge is just going to help you make better decisions. If we know that there's another civ right here, that's really good to know in terms of settling. However, if we know there's no civs here, again, very useful to know. Simultaneously, knowing if these tiles are strong or not is going to help us make more informed decisions of how we want to play the game. So that's kind of how you should think about what you're doing on turn one and how do get the game started. I'll make some more videos about the first couple of turns and how we think of those, but I think this is a good place to stop here in terms of turn one. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully this was a good video. If you have any advice on how I can make these videos any better, whether that be the audio quality, how I talk, or maybe you want me to dig into something in more detail, just leave a comment. I would really appreciate it. I am open to any and all feedback. So thank you again for tuning in. I appreciate it, and hopefully I see you again next time.